Welcome back, Oklahoma Sooners on SI. We are wrapping up our season previews by putting our money where our mouth is, gentlemen. We are going to pick Oklahoma's record, how they will finish today. Ryan Chapman here alongside John Hoover and Carson Field. Guys, be sure you're coming back tomorrow, by the way. Monday, we turn the page to game week. Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com is going to be your place for all Oklahoma coverage all year long. But Hoove, let's just dive straight in. How do you think this team's going to finish here in the regular season?
Yeah, if you guys listen to the podcast historically, if you watch the YouTube channel, you know what my prediction is here. I'm picking OU to go 7-5 this season. Sooners are going to go 7-5. Now you may have seen my bold prediction that John Mateer wins the Heisman. For him to do that, OU is going to have to probably contend for the playoff. That means winning possibly 9 or 10 games. Okay, so bold prediction is something that is considered what? A little more outlandish, a little more out there. The actual prediction, what I think is going to happen, 7-5. Do we go through the games, Ryan? You want me to go through the games, see who the hard ones are, the wins and losses, and the toss up?
Give me your five losses here, because I think that'll speak for itself. And
Sure.
then what might throw a wrench here into your prediction?
All right. Michigan and Texas are two of the losses that are both, to me, toss ups. If Oklahoma wins those games, which I say a toss up, it's a coin toss. If Oklahoma wins those games, everything's on the table, including a playoff run, a deep run in the playoffs. If OU goes 10-2 or something like that in the SEC year two, that means Mateer's having a great season. That means Jaden Ott's having a great season. So let's stick to my narrative here and find out who the other losses are going to be. They lose to Michigan. They lose to Texas. They go on the road and lose at South Carolina. They turn things around a little bit, but they lose in Knoxville, and then they go into the final 2 weeks of the season needing wins, and they lose at Alabama to fall to 5-5. And then they close out the season with two big wins against Mizzou and at home against LSU.
Very nice there. And then, as you said, that if the early portions of October and September, if Oklahoma comes steaming into the Cotton Bowl 5-0 and comes out with a win, that's where things get much different for Hoover. I think that we all are on top of that. Carson, where do you have the Sooners finishing here in 2025?
I also have them at 7-5. Some different losses. Actually, maybe only one different loss than who've had. But I also have them losing to Michigan, Texas, Bama, and I have them losing to LSU and Tennessee as well. South Carolina, I think they win. That's a day game at Williams-Brice, much different than a night game. I think Missouri, Auburn, I think those games might be close, but I think both of those being in Norman, I think those both will be good games that they ultimately win. This is so hard to pick though, because I've said this time and time again. This is a team that could go 5-7, but they could also go 10-2. I think 7-5 with this schedule. I mean, I think it signifies that they've gotten a lot better from last season. I think there are no easy games on the schedule aside from Temple and Kent State, really. I mean, even Illinois State, a good team at the FCS ranks. I think that game could start ugly. OU's going to win that game, no problem there. But it's not an easy schedule. I think that 7-5, I'm not sure if that gives Brent Venables another year. That's for Stevenson, whoever they hire, that's for them to decide. But I think it's a 7-5 season with it's really hard to pick which ones are the wins, which ones are the losses. Maybe that Tennessee loss flips into a win and maybe they lose to South Carolina instead. It was hard to pick which ones they win and which ones they lose. 7-5's best guess.
Yeah, I think that this schedule is really hard to predict just because I think they're going to be much improved. But when you play a schedule as tough as this, there are a bunch of those games a year ago, like the South Carolina game over before it started. Ole Miss, who's going to look a lot different this year. Once they got rolling and determined, we can just throw the tight end over the middle. That game in the second half kind of got away from Oklahoma. I do think they'll be much improved. But my big question, and I guess I'm just like, show me you can do it before I'll start picking that you can do it, is can Oklahoma close out multiple fourth quarter victories? Because I think if you're going to get to the 9-win plateau, the 10-win plateau, 10 should have you into the playoff. 9 has you in the mix right in that same spot as South Carolina and Ole Miss a year ago. You're not blowing everybody out in this league. That's just not going to happen. And we've seen, while Oklahoma's had a couple of triumphs, a handful of those, you look at the way that they certainly beat Texas in 2023, the way they closed out that BYU game with a Jackson Arnold. Okay, there have been a couple of good moments, but for every good moment you've had, Oklahoma gets the interception in Lawrence, and they're unable to kill off that game in 2023, and they lose to Kansas. Same thing a week later in Bedlam. They're unable to close that thing out, lose that game, and then just like the whole first season was basically losing one score games, things like that. So I need them to show me before I can really get fully in. That's why I'm at 8-4. I think that they're gonna in a good game, but I think it'll be comfortable against Michigan. I don't think they're going to have much issues against the Auburns and the Missouris of the world. Texas, we know that game's a toss-up. I'm going to pencil that in as a loss, but in the lightest little pencil mark possible. I think that's where everything hinges on for this season, carrying momentum, stuff like that. Got them going to South Carolina. I think it'll be a great game. South Carolina replacing 6 of their front 7 from a year ago, but Lenora Sellers might just be Superman in disguise. So I got them losing that one. Then not until they head back to Tuscaloosa. That's a game that I think is going to be really, really tough. I think Alabama is going to be that good. And then I think they're actually going to be okay in Knoxville on the decade after Baker Mayfield. I think it'll be that LSU home finale in an absolute barn burn. I think that's basically going to be like a playoff game in Norman. Winner of that's going to head to the CFP for me, and the loser is probably going to just be like, we were that close. So I've got 8-4 right now. I need to see a lot from this offensive line, but I think overall it's going to be much better. The two questions are, can the O-line get to a consistent point? And because of that, is Oklahoma going to be able to find ways to close them out in the fourth quarter? If so, I think the ceiling on this season is much, much higher than that. But we will find out. We'll start to find out here this upcoming Saturday. Be there, be square. The Sooners and the 6th ranked in the FCS Coaches Poll, Redbirds of Illinois State. It'll get going. Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com is your place to be for all of your Oklahoma coverage, wall to wall, all season long. We will have everything for you, and it's always free. No paywalls with us. Everything you want, Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. For John Hoover, for Carson Field, I'm Ryan Chapman, and hey, we'll see you when we're wrapping up the Brent Venables press conference on Tuesday. Be sure you're checking out the website and the YouTube feed, John Hoover Media, for all that fun stuff, and we'll talk to you guys podcast, 2 of them this week, one Wednesday in the normal spot, one a post-game pod, as we reveal what Oklahoma looks like to start this thing off in 2025. We'll talk to you guys then. Have a good year, everybody. We made it. Let's get rolling.